When we first got the idea that there was an interest in doing Tomb Raider multiplayer, we're like, why, and is it even a good idea? But then we discovered a game called Guardian of Light, which came out, it's a smaller game that came out on Xbox Live and PSN. We gave it a shot, and that was the first game that allowed players to play together in a Tomb Raider environment. So there was already some hint of what it would be like to play with more than one person, a Tomb Raider game. For this reimagination, we really wanted to make sure that it was a good idea, and when Crystal Dynamics came to Eidos, to us, to do it, we first played single player. And even before we played single player, we're like, you know, is it a good idea? We're used to seeing Tomb Raider as single player too, and we did not want to do something that was just an afterthought. But that's why it was so important for Crystal to focus on single player and to really get a team specifically to do multiplayer, because it was not an afterthought. It was something that we put into a lot of thought into, and we knew right off the bat that people are going to be like, okay, this is new, we didn't expect multiplayer, but we just hope that with the effort and thought process that we use to get there, that they'll play it and they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, they understand that it exists in a multiplayer environment. Because after playing the single player campaign, we really took the time to evaluate if there was something that was possible for us to do multiplayer, to allow players to play together competitively in a Tomb Raider environment. And we found out that there would be, because the pillars of the franchise apply to, you know, a group context as well. You know, when you talk about survival in multiplayer, in numerous characters, in groups, is also important. Lara is on an island. She's alone in single player, but her crew from the boat that she was stranded with, or stranded, you know, got basically lost on that island, is scattered throughout the island. So she's got, you know, friends that are scattered throughout the island that she needs to go and find. So that's a group. And then on the other hand, there's a group of scavengers, or Solari, which are basically the people that have settled into the island that are preventing you from leaving. So there's already two sides, you know. And then you imagine the island itself is a pretty intimidating area to be in. You know, it's not a city, it's not anything that you would imagine, you know, in the typical multiplayer environment. It's an island where there's a whole bunch of environments. You know, it could be a forest, it could be, you know, a valley, something that's on an island that allows the player to work together to survive. And that was the biggest, let's say, line that we wanted to use for multiplayer, is we have to find a way for players to feel like they need to work together to survive. So you see, the whole thought process for us to get to a multiplayer wasn't just like, okay, let's go and put deathmatch and get players to, you know what I mean? There's modes that are easy to get into because you've played them, like a team deathmatch or modes like that. But there's also modes that we spent a lot of time working on to give players the opportunity to work together to a common goal. Team deathmatch is actually probably an easy one for you to get into and just figure out how the mechanics work and, you know, the aiming and all that stuff. So it is fun in a way, but it's more interesting. You know, the survival themed modes are the ones that are more interesting, that offer the advantages that we have, you know, two sides with two different objectives. Those are the ones that we feel is the most rewarding ones to play. We basically have these, you know, we have, right now we're showing rescue, which basically the survivors and the scavengers. Survivor's goal is to survive in time to get rescued. They have to do that by picking up med packs and bringing them back. Do that by working together. So that's the biggest tip I can give you. Make sure that you have guys that know what it feels like to play together, because if you go by yourself, you're gonna have a hard time, because you're vulnerable, you have to bring the med pack back. But as soon as you start working in groups, that's where you have like one guy carrying the med pack and two guys supporting you and one guy, you know, like it's a huge difference between planning and just doing your own thing. On the other hand, scavengers, their goal is to eliminate you. They don't want you on the island. They feel like you're a threat. So what they need to do is they need to injure you. And when you're down, they need to finish you off with a melee. So their goal is to basically, when they shoot you, you'll fall down. You still have access to your gun as a survivor, but the scavenger's gonna have to take a risk and come up and finishing you. So it's a high risk, high reward. You know, your reward is a nice melee and you get the point. You need to do 20 of them. That also is much easier if you're working in a team, right? It's easier to destroy, to hurt one person than it is to hurt four. So if you're four guys, there's your tactic. You'll be able to eliminate the enemy a lot quicker. the areas that you play in are not direct grabs from single player for multiplayer. They were designed, obviously, if you guys have played multiplayer before, you know that you can't necessarily take a map and just put guys in it and it works. You have to design the layout of the map to support multiplayer and to support the modes, which is what we did. We use the assets from single player optimized so that we keep the frame rate going, we keep the performance going. But at the same time, we came up with our own design layouts for the levels to make sure that players have different paths. They have, they can go up, they can go down, they can go left, right, sides, underground, so that there's a lot of opportunity for players to feel like there's a different momentum going at every single round. There's 3 rounds per match, so there's a chance for you to play both sides and use different paths to get to your objective. We wanted to make sure that the environment could be a friend, could be a foe. And for that to happen, we have what we call game changers. Game changers is a triggerable event that any side can trigger, which basically means that you're triggering a sandstorm. The advantage is that if you do it, you get to see your friends and your enemies' gamer tags all over the place. So they don't see you because they lose the ability to see their friends' gamer tags, but you get to see them. So if you're almost gonna win, that can easily play against you and can allow the other team to catch up. We also have traps scattered on the level so that you could use those to your advantage. But the idea is to keep mounting XP to unlock the other characters and you earn that by doing, working as a team, getting objectives, stuff like that, and making sure that you collect salvage, which is what the money in the game is, so you can upgrade your weapons. With XP, you get to unlock loadouts as well. So you get 3 loadouts when you start, and the more you climb in XP, the more loadouts you have. In the loadouts, you can get a primary, secondary weapon. You can get a grenade. There's a whole assortment of weapons from each side, and there's abilities, offensive abilities, defensive abilities. You can pick one per loadout. So if you want to get more shields from bullets, you have an opportunity to do that. If you want to get more ammo, you can do that. And every loadout allows you to customize that.
We've got to find medical supplies before they die.
The most proud of, I would say, is watching people playing it. Because multiplayer is the kind of game that you cannot explain to someone as well as they can see it for themselves when they play it. The most proud of, honestly, especially being here now, is when people that have never played the game get in and to see their expectations change from the first time they pick up the gamepad to 5 to 10 minutes in, and they're understanding how the game goes. And that's the work of the whole team. I mean, I think that the whole team should be proud of that, is that our goal in the beginning was to do something that would do Tomb Raider justice, that would treat the game, and us as fans, us also being fans, not just the other fans out there, but doing it justice and making sure that whatever we do it with pride. And the only thing that really gives us pride is to see people's reaction to it. And just like you started saying it came as a surprise. But I think that once people will put some time into it, give it a shot, I think they'll be surprised just like they were when they first heard about it. They'll be surprised about what they're playing as well. That's what I hope.